Hello, welcome to Roy's Ramble. So here we are today at York Train Museum, and yeah, it's been a while since I've been here. Always love it, always enjoy it. However, it's all changed. Not the way I remember it at all. So anyway, we're going to go in through this particular entrance, and we'll have a good look around and let you know what we think about it. Okay, well, we've come inside, and it's free to come in the into the museum, but they do ask for a donation, or they do suggest you make a donation. Obviously, I've made a donation. It's a minimum donation of £5. Now, if you're coming in this entrance, the station hall entrance, they don't actually take a cash donation, so make sure you have your card if you're coming in this side. So on we go. So not far inside, you come up against this van. For the cheeky buggers out there, no, I do not remember these vans riding around, and no, I've never driven one. Old, but not that old. But yeah, beautiful example. Notice as well, I think it's a London North East Railway parcel van. If you look at the letters across the top of it. Okay, now here's a good one for you, and here's one for Grandad, because Grandad will remember these. He's always going on about them. British Rail parcel transporter. It always tells me a story about how one of these got backed onto the railway lines, straight off the platform, straight onto the main line. They had to stop the main train coming in, stop it crashing into it, and drag it off the line, and back up to the platform. Yeah. So behind me, you'll see a horse-drawn wagon, Midland Railways. Now, what you've got to remember is that in Victorian times, when we had the railways, especially early Victorian times, the main form of transport was still the horse and cart, and the railways used an awful lot of horse and carts. They were still using horses in the early part of the history of railways. To a great degree, and this particular wagon is an example of when they were still using the shire horses, the great shire horses like the Suffolk Punch, that were dragging heavy loads all over London and the major cities in the country, as well as doing agricultural work. So yeah, also if you look to the right, Mark, you'll actually see quite an old locomotive, six-wheeler, and can't say enough too much about this particular locomotive. However, we'll go up onto the platforms now, take another look, give you a bit more information. Spectacular steam locomotive behind me. Number 13000 or 13,000, built in 1826. No nameplate on it, and there's no information. So I would imagine that you'd need to get some kind of brochure on your way in. It tells you what all these trains are. But for now, I can't tell you any more information about it other than that. It looks very Potteresque, and certainly beautifully preserved, and a beautiful job on it. So let's move on. So, this particular train behind me, I do know a little bit about. Not much, but a little bit. This particular train I've seen before. It's the last surviving example of this particular type of train. Now, they were called spinners. They were nicknamed spinners, and the reason they were nicknamed spinners is because you'll notice it's got one big wheel in the middle. The other wheels just to support the weight of the actual locomotive, and the reason for that, the one pair of driving wheels, giving it its nickname, is because all the actual force was put on those two wheels, and when the engine used to try and pull away, those wheels used to spin, and it used to take quite a bit of skill to actually get this train actually moving, and the wheels were always spinning. If you opened the throttle too fast, even when you were moving, going up hills, things like that, those wheels would spin, and so they were nicknamed spinners. And I think the class itself was a class 115. They weren't in service very long, 25-30 years, because of that particular problem. Steam engines that had one single pair of driving wheels soon went out of existence because of the restrictions, being able to pull away with big loads. Okay, so let's move on. Take a look inside this particular locomotive. Take a look at the driving, the driving controls, etc. Not changed much. Not changed very much from modern times. Still a bit, basically the same layout, same configuration, and I would imagine that somebody maybe driving steam trains on the Central Railway over in the Midlands there would be able to step on this and drive it if it, once it had steam, etc. If it was drivable, if you know what I mean. Let's go and have a look at this other particular train. Now, this particular engine is a tank engine, which means that instead of showing a tender at the back like most steam trains eventually started doing, a big tender full of water, which is basically a big tank of water, these engines have tanks on the side, the water in them, and that's why they were called tank engine. The advantage to having the tank on the side, of course, is when it was full of water, the extra weight gave an awful lot more grip to the wheels. Now, it was this particular kind of engine that was pulling the train in the famous disaster on the Tay Bridge. The Tay Bridge collapsed in a storm. The train went straight into the estuary, killing everybody on board. And it was this type of train that was pulling that particular train. The designer of this particular train as well gave quite a lot of information and evidence to the inquiry about the suitability of this particular train for doing that job, the weight of it and all the rest of it. Because at one point he was suspected of having been to blame because the engine was too heavy for the bridge. That was proved to be not the case, and he was exonerated. Can't remember his name. He's a very famous Scottish engineer. Okay, so we'll move on. Now, if you're interested in the actual details, the correct details, then here they all are laid out, including, I think, the name of the engineer, which is there actually the museum is full of these kind of signs, and most interesting they are too. So when you're going around, do take a look at the signs, especially the tin plate sign, because train stations in them days were plastered with all kinds of signs, especially advertising signs, not only information signs like these. Okay. Robert Stevenson's Rocket. Now, when I was in junior school, I'm doing history. The first history lesson that I actually ever did was about the rocket, because it ran from Manchester to Liverpool, and as you know, I'm from Manchester. But it was famous for an awful lot more than that it ran from Manchester to Liverpool. Now, it went to service in 1929, but it was designed a lot earlier than that. And the thing that's so special about the rocket is its boiler. It had a superheated boiler, never been done before. That gave it a massive amount of steam at high pressure and allowed it to reach some pretty spectacular speeds. Now, it's also got opposing pistons driving the front wheels, and this was the first time that anybody had used this configuration to turn, I'll use a technical term, reciprocating motion into rotary power, which put simply means that when you take this con rod and you shove it, up and down, reciprocating up and down, that's a reciprocating motion. You convert it via this con rod onto this wheel into rotary power, and that's what that means for all those who are just interested. I'm just doing a bit of showing off there, don't mind. Anyway, the thing that's so special about the rocket is this particular boiler. Now, this boiler has these tubes running through it, and the tubes have air going through them, steam, hot air, and they generate an awful lot more steam. And it's said that this idea wasn't actually Robert Stevenson's. He met a bloke in a pub, and the bloke wrote his idea down on a bit of a back of a fag packet apparently, and he thought, what a great idea, and he had been an engineer, he turned it into reality. And if those two hadn't met on that night, and if he wouldn't have had a spare fag packet and a pencil behind his ear to write it all down, then British Railways would have probably looked an awful lot different. But anyway, the rocket. This is where the history of our railways started. In fact, it's the history where all commercial passenger railways started. Okay, now behind me we've got a very famous locomotive, and it's actually on the turntable if you care to take a look. And this particular engine is the Evening Star. Very famous, very powerful engine. Yeah, and that's about all I can really say about it, to be truthful. Now behind me is a very, very famous locomotive, Coronation class and it's built for speed and power. It's also fully streamlined, which means that all this panelling that you can see that covers the entire engine reduces the amount of drag and wind resistance. I think this one's a Duchess of York or something like that. Yeah, I think it came into service about in the 1930s, late 1930s, I remember reading somewhere that it had been exhibited similar to the Flying Scotsman. Actually, I think exhibited in America, this particular class of locomotive, the coronation class. They were hoping to make sales in America. Whether it ever happened or not, I don't know. But I know this particular one's got the colours of the London Midland Scottish Railway Company, which I presume is what it's running. But yeah, quite a fast, powerful locomotive. Looks like every other locomotive of that class at that time, except it's panelled. It's got all this paneling on it to make it streamlined, and that's what they were called, streamliners. That was the nickname. Okay, so let's move on. Duchess of Hamilton. I used to have a model called the Duchess of Hamilton. Hey. So as I was saying, I said the late 30s. It's actually manufactured in 1938, and it wasn't the Duchess of York. It was the Duchess of Hamilton. I think my memory is shocking these days. But there you go. 6. So behind me we have the famous bullet train, which we all know goes at a tremendous speed. Designed in Japan by the Japanese, probably the very first commercially successful high-speed train built. I think the Japanese still running bullet trains, a bit more modern than this particular example, but yeah, definitely worth taking a look at when you come to the museum. Now we can't do every single train in the museum because of time restraints, but we're going to try and pick out one or two of the more familiar ones, the ones that you're more familiar with. That's if they're still here. So on we go. So here we are inside the bullet train. Unfortunately, we're not in Japan. Wish we were. But it gives you an idea of what it's like inside the bullet train. Notice that the seating configuration is 3 and 2, a bit like an aircraft, which is interesting. Now what we're going to do now is we're going to go up and have a look inside the driver's cab. Got the driver's cab. Unfortunately, can't get in, locked out, which is a shame really, but what can you do? Not a lot. Okay, we're going to go and see if we can find Mullard, and we're going to go and see if we can find the Flying Scotsman. Whether they're still here or not, I don't know. Behind me, we've got a beast, an enormous steam train, 8-wheeler, if you look. 4 wheels on this side, 4 wheels on that side, plus the bogies obviously. And what an enormous beast it is as well. Doesn't look British, looks, I don't know what it looks like, maybe Eastern European, something like that. But quite a monster. Come and have a look for yourselves. So here it is. Probably the most famous train in the world. Currently still holds the fastest speed for a steam train in existence. The Mallard. And what a beast it is too. Now you notice LNER, London Northern Eastern Railways, 4468. Very, very famous number that for a very, very famous train. And Matt's going to have a walk around the train now, and he's going to actually let you have a look. And I think he's going to have a walk over the bridge as well, so you can have an aerial view looking down on the locomotive itself. Now, Flying Scotsman is not here today. It's out having a steam pressure test. It won't be back for a few days. So unfortunately, that was the other train I really came to see and wanted you to see, but unfortunately, it's not here. Not what we can do about that. So Mark's going to go and have a walk up the steps and get an aerial view of the train. Here we are. We've had a look at most of the exhibits, etc. We've had to cut a lot of them out for obvious reasons, length of time. But behind us is this absolutely fantastic set of wrought iron gates. Now the main gates from Euston train station. The main gates from Euston train station, which burnt down. Obviously the gates couldn't burn down because they're wrought iron, but they've been brought to the museum and fully restored, and don't they look absolutely fantastic. Now I'm sure if you go on the internet and you have a look for the fire that destroyed the station but not the gates, you'll discover the full history. Now I've really enjoyed my visit to York Train Museum today. It's a wonderful experience. It's free to get in. You have to make a small donation. Well, actually, you don't have to make a small donation, but because not everybody can afford to. But if you can afford to, make a small donation. Come in, have a look around. Very interesting. The only train that wasn't here that I wanted to show you was a Scotsman, but apparently it'll be here in a few days, so if you're going to be coming, leave it a few days and you'll get to see that. But everything else pretty much was here. Now it's a big place, you can't cover it all just in one YouTube video, so done our best to cover the salient points, and yeah, come along, have a great day. Give us some feedback if you can. Positive is good, negative, if it's constructive, is even better. If you can press subscribe and support us, then obviously you'll be helping us make these videos, and also you'll be getting us onto the actual main YouTube engine, which you need a certain amount of subscribers for you actually get onto that engine, and that will help other people discover these places as well. So without further ado, I will say cheerio.